Welcome back to the Barca Breakdown. 4-0 victory against Valladolid. Let's go, Yus. This is the performance we wanted to see, although it has to be said.
Not a great team, Valladolid.
No, yeah. Valladolid did not do very well today. But there are some good things to be taken from this game. I think the biggest thing we're all going to be very happy about is Kounde finally in the squad, finally put into that back four. A little bit of confusion about, when the lineup was announced, Balde, Garcia, Araujo, Kounde. Where would Kounde fit in, as a right back or as the right center back? And boom, he gets his shot as a right back. And I think when we get into the game, we'll see that Kounde offers a lot more offensively than Araujo does, which has kind of been the big gripe we've had the last few games with Araujo as right back. But I think besides that, we're just continuing to get reassurance that Robert Lewandowski is not slowing down.
He's a god.
He is a god amongst men. Just incredible positioning, getting on that, cross from Raphinha that was perfectly placed for Lewandowski to score it in. And then, the other big news, I think, too, is Dembele is looking great. He had 2 great assists today, one to Pedri and then one to Lewandowski as well. So overall, you got to be very happy with the team, although, like you said, we're playing against not the best squad in La Liga. I think they're going to be sitting probably at like 19th or 20th after this performance.
They got 0 wins, 0 points.
Yeah, I mean, the newly promoted side, right, always have a hard time. We saw Liverpool win 9-0 in the Premier League yesterday against a newly promoted side. But, hey, we need to take these small incremental wins because, and we haven't covered this yet, and we'll probably do a video as we get closer to the Champions League, we are in that group of death, as they call it, with Bayern Munich. Don't get PTSD, Bayern Munich, and then Inter Milan, who are not as good as I think they were the last few years, but still good teams. So we need to take all of these games, whether they're against the top team or a medium team or bottom team, and we need to start getting into a routine, right? We need to start getting an 11 that we can trot out there, 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row so that we have a base so that when we go to the Allianz Arena in Munich, we're not going to get embarrassed. And I think today we started to see a little bit of a indication of that 11 we might go forward with. So why don't you go ahead, take us through the 11 that we started with, and then things you're happy or upset about.
Okay, of course, Stegen in the net. Then we had Kounde on the right, Eric Garcia, Araujo in the middle, and then on the left we had Balde, I think as you just said. Midfield, Gavi, Pedri, and Busquets. No Frenkie De Jong again. And then in the front, Dembele, Raphinha, and Lewandowski, which has pretty much been our full starting lineup. No Ferran Torres again. He's just kind of coming back, got subbed in this game. But I will say I was really happy with the play between Raphinha and Dembele. A lot of switching sides. They were dropping back into the middle and allowing some of our midfielders like Gavi to drop forward and make quite a few opportunities in the box. Although Gavi's still very unpolished with that attacking mindset. He finds himself in sticky situations. When he pushes forward, he receives the ball, and I think he waits too long to make either a pass or a shot on goal and ends up being stuck on the sideline, and a defender closes him off. The ball goes out of bounds. The play is dead. So I think maybe Frenkie De Jong is a little better at that, but we have been able to see Frenkie play so much there.
And I think, kind of to pause there and think about the lineup starting. The first thing is, it seems like I agree with you, and I've been saying that I want to see Frenkie, Pedri, and Busquets as that starting midfield. I'm not sure here if we're coming against the possibility that Xavi doesn't want to count on Frenkie because he still could leave. Things are looking less and less likely by the day, but perhaps that's a consideration Xavi's making, and then once it's certain that Frenkie will stay, he'll start him more. Or Xavi might just like Gavi more because he's Spanish, because his name sounds the same, because, he's a younger and he's a good player in his own right. When you look at this lineup and how we started to play in that first half, the interesting thing is that Gavi oftentimes will move very far forward, right?
Yeah.
Like there are times when Raphinha naturally wants to drop kind of more into the middle of the park, and then you see Gavi run forward, and he is occupying a space that we need someone to be in, and he is getting himself open to receive passes. But like you said, that last ball through to the middle to Dembele or Lewandowski, or his ability to play together with Kounde or Raphinha on that right side is still pretty hit or miss, and so I would like to see Frenkie De Jong get a chance to start. I think, Kounde, right back, did very well, right? We see immediately what type of offensive capabilities he has that Araujo simply doesn't, right?
Sure.
In this game, you saw Raphinha and Kounde at times connecting on that right side very far forward. And, you know, when Raphinha was cutting inside, you saw Kounde sometimes stick to the sideline and give another out on the wing. And that's just what we couldn't see with Araujo. And so I'm very happy to see Kounde in his first game. Again, he needs some more time to get more polished, to get more experience playing in full matches with, you know, the rest of the squad.
Sure.
But very promising things there. Balde, again, is getting the start over Jordi Alba, which, you know, we have to give kudos to Xavi, right? Having the stones to be able to play, you know, Balde, who's inexperienced above Alba, is huge. And, you know, Alba didn't even make an appearance as a sub in this game. And so one worry I do have about Balde, and he's played very well so far, right? We were talking during the game, Balde has made incredible improvements this offseason and this whole last year. And so whereas a year ago I was like, Balde's not good enough, he can't really be put in there, don't trust him, he's kind of like a Firpo. He's improved massively, and I'm very happy to see him. I just hope that he'll get some composure, right? Because it's a different story playing against, you know, Valladolid in La Liga as compared to playing against Bayern Munich in, you know, perhaps the 5th or 6th game of the group stages where we need points to go ahead, right? And so I'm just hoping Balde can quickly gain the confidence he needs to be able to play in bigger and bigger matches, as, you know, Barca are hoping to compete for titles this year.
But we're seeing, I think your point here is we're seeing improvement from the player, and we really do need that because Jordi Alba is not going to last us how many ever years. We need that replacement cemented before we get too far down the road. And same with Gerard Piqué. You know, there was a shot of them sitting on the sideline there, and it's kind of like, wow, we've been talking about this for a few years now, and
it's
think, it's finally settling in.
We need to replace that old guard, right? Well, there's too many shots at, and I hate when we say this, but at Anfield, at Roma, at the 8-2, right? There's too many shots of Alba, Lenglet, Busquets, Piqué all together just holding their heads after a big catastrophic loss. And so finally, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We have to give Xavi a bunch of credit. You know, Koeman as well for some of these young players he got in the team. And then, of course, Laporta and the board have really reinforced this summer in ways that I don't think any of us could have imagined. But let's get into the game use, because I have one player that we need to shout out first and foremost, Ter Stegen. Right, Ter Stegen, even though in this game he wasn't challenged, he had 2 great saves in that second half, along with a goal line clearance by Kounde. And so Ter Stegen has really upped his level this season. And I feel like it gets a little bit, you know, put to the backside because of how much focus is on Lewandowski and it's on Dembele and it's on now Kounde. And so we really need to take a second to just appreciate Ter Stegen, because his distribution has always been pretty good. It used to be excellent. It's kind of waned in the last few years, but his shot stopping is where I really feel like he took a major downward spiral in the last 2 to 3 years. And this season, he seems to be back to his best. And so, you know, when you have a player improve out of kind of nowhere, that's like the biggest signing you can make, right? Having Ter Stegen kind of reach his previous levels is huge for us.
Let's not only consider that we did bolster our back line here, right? So, of course, that's going to be reflective of the whole defense. But at the same time, if Ter Stegen's still letting those shots in, like we saw against Valladolid, they only had a few shots, but those could have gone in. If Stegen wasn't fast enough to react, he wasn't, accurate enough, he could have missed that. And it is something that we need him to be consistently, skilled at, is blocking these shots with slow reaction times, because Valladolid's not a good team, and we're going to come up against better teams. So I'm happy about that. You know, I'm a Stegen stan. I have his
used
jersey.
To be former, but let's not get into that topic right now. Here's the thing. We have to give props even in situations, right? There are certain players, Gavi is one of them this season, who we're not like super high on and we want to see someone else. But there's a player we have not been that big on who has had very good improvements this season. Eric Garcia is looking better and better, right? He had a good header clearance, I think, early in that second half, and his passing abilities again continue to shine through. And as much as I think of it as Araujo's a starter, no doubt about it, in center back. And then you consider Eric Garcia or Christensen, maybe a little Piqué sprinkled in there at times. But, you know, I love Christensen. You love Christensen too. I think he's been very good. But Eric Garcia is putting up performances that, you know, it's going to be hard for Christensen to overcome unless Xavi himself sees a reason to put Christensen.
But let's slightly take a step back. Just because we played Valladolid, and we highlighted this at the beginning, not a great team, but Eric Garcia's biggest faults come when he comes against much more physical teams. And so he has a little bit of a hard time fighting those players and stopping them from moving forward. We didn't see so much of that in this game. Eric Garcia and Araujo were able to play high on the pitch and not worry too much about that. So I agree with you. He has shown some improvement. He has been pretty solid in the back line, but we got to wait and evaluate a little bit more, and the whole team generally, right? Because we had 4 goals here, and on the defense, we didn't have to play too much. We had possession for most of it. So we do have to just be careful and just, not tape our expectations too much there.
Sure.
I don't want him to make another blunder is really what I'm afraid of.
Well, we got to give him a chance.
Yeah,
and Xavi definitely is. And so I kind of get your point, which is that, let's trust him till we don't, right? And that's the great part about this season, right? And I think as a lot of our discussions are a little bit less about the game because we've been trying to follow a formula lately where we have, post-match initial reactions, then we do a little bit more in-depth midweek video, which will be coming probably Wednesday or Tuesday of next week. But the main thing here is that we have options, which is the great part, right? Is like, okay, Ansu Fati's not fit enough to start. Boom, we'll start Raphinha and Dembele and Lewandowski. Ferran Torres is coming back. He didn't look great in this second striker role, I think, against Man City. And so we're going to just put, Raphinha and Dembele up front. Oh, Gavi might not be giving us what we want. We have Frenkie De Jong or Kessie to come in.
Sure.
Eric Garcia has a blunder. We can put in PK or Christensen, right? And so that's the beauty. That's the beauty of our team this season for the first time in a while is we have a plethora of talent. So much so that it's going to be a challenge soon to make sure everyone gets enough time so there's not anyone disgruntled or that, if an injuries get picked up, the other person has enough play time where they're ready to come in. And so let's get a little bit more about the game. I mean, overall, I was not shocked, but because we had just recently played a 3 at the back, I wasn't sure seeing our back 4 how we were going to play, but it looked pretty clear we were doing a 4-3-3 this game. There was, like you mentioned, an interesting dynamic where Dembele and Raphinha a lot of times like to cut inside, and so Gavi, especially in Pedri, also had the opportunity to move forward. There was a little bit too much of a cross and pray mentality, I felt like, throughout the game, especially in that first half where, it's not always going to work out. But Lewandowski, man, just looks like such a absolute gem, right? That first goal, like we mentioned before, Raphinha crosses it in, and then Lewandowski's right there ready to get it, right? Dembele, with his excellent game, dribbling, he drives into the middle and just able to pass an easy one to Pedri, who knocks it straight into the goal.
I mean, I want to highlight, step back there, is I think Lewandowski's greatest strength in these situations, in these one-on-ones in the box, is he's able to come in front of the defender, which in that is a true striker, able to find the position, beat the man, and get to the ball at first. And I think that's where we fell short, right? Ferran Torres doesn't seem to be able to do that very often, and he also ends up taking shots top of the box, outside the box, and whatnot. So I really, really want to highlight the fact that Lewandowski is just doing his role, and he's doing it fantastically. Already 4 goals, I think, in the last few games, just stepping up and really showing that he came to Barca to score these goals. And then, you just mentioned that assist from Dembele. He had another one with Pedri, and that was a beautiful goal where Pedri found the perfect spot at the top of the box, right in the middle, and just 3 defenders around him and slots it right past the goalie on the right side. I'm just very impressed with Pedri's ability to push forward and
finish, right?
Yeah,
because that was kind of one of the big narratives of the preseason is Pedri banged in a few goals, and I think there was a famous quote. It might have been Koeman or Xavi at the beginning of. It might have been Koeman at the beginning of last season. Like, I want my midfielders to score 10 goals, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so, Pedri. I hope he continues to prove that he can score goals. He had a few wonder goals at the end of last season. I think we all remember.
Saved us a few times.
Top of the box, and so I'm hoping that Pedri can continue.
Yeah, and then we had our last goal from Sergio Roberto. Unfortunately, Lewandowski didn't get that hat trick. Came off the post, and then Sergio Roberto's slotted in the right spot and just finished it one touch. So we ended the game 4-0. I like the clean sheet. I'm happy different players got to score and get involved on the in the game, because at the end of the day here, we're still trying things out, I think, right? Like that strategy of our wingers dropping in, midfield is pushing up. I think that Xavi is still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to be doing.
We're certainly still figuring things out because we just got Kounde, right?
Sure.
And if it looks like Kounde is going to be a starting right back, the game today on the right side was just a whole different beast, right? Like, I think Raphinha is someone we haven't necessarily praised enough right now talking about this game. His passing ability is really, really impressive to me. It's interesting because he's had less of a dribbling impact than I had thought before we got him he would end up having, right? I imagine him more of like a Dembele type, taking on people one-on-one. But really, he's done a very good job of finding Lewandowski on that cross, or of cutting inside and then finding the nice incisive pass to Dembele or to Gavi, and so, or Kounde at times. And so Raphinha has really impressed me, and I think now we have a big game, right? It's not as big as in previous seasons. Sevilla don't look as good as they used to, right? Just to be frank about it. But we do have Sevilla coming up next Saturday. And so do you think Xavi will go with the same starting 11?
I still think he should start with Balde and maybe start Fati if he seems fit enough, to be honest. And
the reports are saying that Xavi wants to be really slow with Fati. And that we feel like last season, the reason he re-aggravated his injury is because we put him in immediately and had him play a lot of minutes.
Well, you could also just play him for the first 45, right? And see how he fares in that beginning. Because coming into the game against a team that has a little more tired legs is a lot different than starting the game out, right? And you also have other players just warming up and figuring each other out at the beginning. So I think it would be a good idea to start him in one of the games, but it doesn't mean he has to play the full 90. I also just want to see how he is lined up with, let's say, Dembele, Lewandowski, and Fati in that example, or maybe Raphinha, Fati, Lewandowski. It has to be Lewandowski in there. Dembele and Raphinha can switch off because they can pretty much play both sides, and Fati's stronger on the left side. So I just want to see that, just to see if we can get an early goal out of him, and then we can rest him and go from there. But I also do want to see a change in maybe the back line. I like I said, Balde on the left, but if Araujo and Eric Garcia are going to play, maybe we can have Kounde in that left back or left center back position, and then have Sergio Roberto. I don't want to see that, but I'm just saying, since we have such a large choice in our back line, to try different combinations. Because
see, I kind of disagree, actually, because like I was mentioning, I really do feel like we have to choose an 11, and of course, if someone's not performing, we have to swap them out, but we really need to try and have like a structure and a continued starting lineup, just because this whole group of death in Champions League, with the money involved and the levers and how much we need to make, we really cannot afford to drop down out of the get knocked out of the group stages, right? We really need to make the knockout stages of the Champions League, and so I would definitely be more in favor of less experimenting now, right?
Okay, so do you think that is the back line that we use today? Yeah,
I think we're starting the same 11. The only difference I would personally want is Frenkie De Jong instead of Gavi, but I really don't think Xavi is going to do it. But I think we'll have to wait and see. Let us know in the comments what you guys' thoughts were in this game. Who was your man of the match, favorite player, what you guys expect to see kind of come unleashed for Sevilla next weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Thanks,
have a nice
guys.
week.